Today we're going to look at a new reading lamp that I got from Benq. This is a Genie e-reading lamp. It's designed to reduce eye strain when you're looking at screens or just reading a book. It's LED, color temperature changes, adjust brightness and everything. Let's take a look at it. I got this Genie e-reading lamp from Benq to trial, and every Benq product I've ever used has been top quality. I had a Benq projector for years and sold it to a fellow when I upgraded to a newer model, and it still works, and that's got to be 15 years old. I've got a Benq Trevo speaker, the electrostatic speaker, on my laptop. That also works great. Now I've got their LED desk lamp. We're going to evaluate this, see how it works, and take it apart. So first thing I notice is that it's not all plastic construction. This sucker is made out of metal, and it's actually quite heavy. Comes with a couple of screws, an Allen key wrench, and quick start guide. The light assembly, and a power supply. Here's the light assembly. So the light is emitted from the curved lens. Again, this is metal, not plastic. That's solid aluminum. Attaching the light itself to the stand is pretty straightforward. Just insert and attach the two screws that are included in the package. It also has a little cap to cover up where the screws themselves sit. We just turn the hex keys in. The rubber plug will now cover where the screws fit, and then there's a channel at the back to hide the cord that plugs into the AC adapter. Plug the two together, apply power, and now we can dial in the brightness of the lamp, and of course also adjust the color temperature. Let me kill the lights in here so I can show you how this looks. Okay, to turn the light off and on, just touch the metal ring at the back. That's the light switch to turn it on and to turn it off. When it's on, you can adjust your brightness by turning up the dial or turning down the dial. And if you want to change the color temperature of the light, just depress the button, and now you can change from a warm white all the way through to a cool white. And again, touch it, it turns off, touch it, it turns back on, and then you've got your brightness. Tap button again, now you can control the brightness. This is an anti-glare reading lamp designed so that you can put it over your computer screen. It's to reduce eye fatigue. I think this would be a great light for anybody's workspace or just for reading, because it gives you a nice, clear, bright light. And it actually is relatively bright. We can adjust the angle, can tilt it away from you or towards you, tilt it up and down, and we can also tilt it back and forth. To give you an idea of the white balance and how the white balance looks here, I've set my camera up as a manual white balance. If I press the button, I can now change the brightness or change the color temperature. As you can see, I've got multiple color temperatures. There's also a mode on here that is for, it's called eye sensor, eye care sensor. It has a sensor on it so that when you're using it over a computer screen, when you're in reading mode, it turns all the lights on, as you can see here. the entire strip of lights is lit. If we touch and hold the sensor, it goes into what's called eye care mode. And what eye care mode does is it turns off this center strip of lights so that it's not throwing light right on your screen. This is when you're reading a computer screen, for example, so that it lights your desk on either side of the screen, and it doesn't light the center panel. It lights them dimly. But also what it does, if we watch this, the color temperature is gradually changing. I've got the camera in fixed mode now so that you can see the subtle changes. Now it does this, the unit has the what they call the eye care sensor, which faces down towards your desk or your work table. And what it does is it detects light coming off of your screen. So if your screen is showing mostly blue, it's going to counteract that by warming up the surrounding colors. And if your screen is showing more red, it's going to cool down the surrounding area to reduce eye fatigue. Now, in this case, why it's doing it here is because my little LED sign in the background, of course, keeps flashing red light. And when it detects the red from the LED sign, it's going to cool down the color slightly. It's subtle, but you do notice it. If I just turn this, now it goes back to regular full brightness. As you can see, the color temperature here is quite yellow. I can adjust the color temperature. Or if I press the button down, now I can adjust the brightness. And just tap it to turn it off. Tap it to turn it on. Tap and hold. I'll go into eye care mode. There we go. That's pretty much the operation of this Benq e-reading light. Now I'm going to take it in and try it out with my laptop. Actually, I'll bring my laptop out here so you can see how it throws some nice ambient light onto the bench. Of course, the idea behind a light like this is to reduce eye strain when you're looking at a screen by giving you some ambient background light so you're not looking at a screen in total darkness. And the light temperature that it gives off is actually very pleasing and gives good contrast on the screen here. So as far as looking at computer screens on it, it's a very nice light. It doesn't cause any glare, and it gives you just the right amount of ambient light to ease eye strain when you're working on a computer in a dark room, and which a lot of people end up doing. You don't want to turn on all the lights. Just have a nice little desk lamp over top of your computer for when you're working away in the dark. It gives it a nice ambient light so you can see the keypad and see what you're doing, but it doesn't glare off the screen. And so far, I like it. Let's go over to YouTube. Why am I getting bombarded with these videos? I never watch any of these videos, but I certainly seem to see an awful lot of stuff that I've never watched or very rarely watched. Oh. So, NASA's Apollo 11 50th anniversary today. I think we'll take this thing apart and see how well it's built. So here's the light sensor here. And here's the lights. The lights are all along the one side. If I power it up with the unit apart, you'll see that the lights, and there's basically two colors of LEDs. We'll dim these down. If I press the button in for changing the color temperature, it will change the LEDs from one temperature to the other, or a combination of both. So you've got warm and cool white LEDs, and then it shifts from one bank to the other to change the color temperature. So in the middle you've got both of them running at the same time. Works kind of like the warm glow Philips incandescent replacement bulbs, where they have two different color temperatures, and as the lamp dims they go from one color temperature to the other one. But this one, that doesn't dim the lamps, it just runs them at full brightness, but you can pick multiple color temperatures. And then when you touch and hold, it puts it into what they call automatic mode, which will determine the color temperature and the brightness based on the ambient light reaching the light sensor. And as you can see, it dims down a section in the middle. And that's so that it doesn't throw as much light in the middle section here as it does on the edges, so that it's not going to reflect off your screen. We'll remove the mount just to get a look at what's under it. As you can see, under here there's a couple of ICs. Be one regulator IC, and this one here is probably a buck converter or a boost converter to change the voltage from what is received. Get a couple control ICs here, and then driver. One of these is going to be a driver IC to drive the LED strips that are underneath here. Say this is metal, right? Not plastic, but metal. Looks to be really well built. Like all products that I've used from Benq over the last several years, they all seem to be pretty darn good quality. I've been using this monitor for many years. It was given to me. It was actually in a house that I was doing some work in about, I don't know, I think I've had this monitor here for 5 years at least. It was old when I got it. It was in a house that someone moved out of, and they didn't want the monitor that was left mounted on the wall, so they took it down and said, "Here, if you want it, you can have it." Didn't have a remote control or anything, but didn't need it. Looks like they've got a Loctite on these screws to keep them from coming loose. which means that's something I'll have to be concerned about now that I've broken the bond, but I'm not going to be moving this around much anyway, so. But this is going to be a high stress point when you're bending the light around, because this is the mount. Right, so that's going to be a high stress point, so they put Loctite on those mounting screws. Anyway, just the very fact that this thing's all metal construction, I wouldn't anticipate any issues with it. Looks to be built relatively well. Good construction, solid, and it gives off a nice cozy light, great for reading or working with the computer. Anyway, I'm going to put this back together now. I'm going to take it in the house and put it up on my desk and use it on my computer desk. So there it is, the Benq Genie e-reading light, all back together, looking great. Link to this is in the description, and we'll catch you in the next one. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.